the panel this afternoon, but I'm delighted to be here tonight, and I want to welcome once again to our very special guest, in fact, University President Zhang Jie and his associates. We want to thank them for coming such a long distance to always support alumni activities. So let's give them a great round of applause. I also want to thank Sherry Wang and Catherine Hay and all the volunteers who made this wonderful event possible. So Sherry and Catherine, thank you so much. I'm also so pleased to be accompanied by my father, Dr. James S.C. Zhao Xicheng. Now, this is the second time we've been at this alumni summit. He, as you well know, is a dedicated and devoted alumni, and throughout my life, my parents have been very active in Jiaozhou University activities. And you are all very special. I want to congratulate all of you in this room who have contributed so much to society and also to our country, America, and to China. So I hope that you will give yourselves a great round of applause for what you've done. I'm a little bit reluctant because I've been asked to talk about a serious topic, and I know that I stand between you and dinner. So, but I've been asked to comment on America's competitiveness and cultural differences in the era of globalization. Now, next Friday, October 7th, the government will release the unemployment numbers through the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Currently, the national unemployment rate is 9.1% in a workforce that numbers about 153 million people. No new jobs were created in the month of August. Over 14 million people are unemployed, whereas in the past 2001 to 2008, the average rate of unemployment was about 6 weeks. Now, over 40% of those who have been unemployed are unemployed for over 26 weeks. GDP growth has been an anemic 1%. Productivity is now negative at 0.7%. Labor participation rate is 64% versus 68% when I was in office. If one were to count in all the part-time workers who want full-time work, the functional unemployment rate in America today is nearly 16%. And yet America's economy is 70% consumer-driven. With unemployment at such high rates, consumers cannot spend, and companies therefore cannot hire. Companies are facing the threat of higher taxes, more regulations, federal government deficit spending. This is all painting a very uncertain environment, and so employers are not hiring. Small companies, of which Asian Americans own so many of, in particular, are discouraged by economic outlook, and they're not hiring. And this is important because 2/3 of the new hirings occur because of small businesses. And Europe is faring no better. The newspapers are full of news about Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, who successfully, but very, very difficultly, got through the German legislature a measure to bail out Greece. The stagnant economic growth, limited new job creation, massive government deficit spending in Europe is also contributing to the poor economic outlook and the prospects there. And if we look at the breakdown of the national unemployment rate in America by racial groups, it's pretty interesting. The African American unemployment rate is the highest at 16.7%. The Latino unemployment rate comes second at 11.3%. The white unemployment rate is 8%. Asian unemployment rate is 7.1%. So let me interject here that I'm rather proud of the fact that we now report Asian unemployment rate in a separate category, because it was in 2003, during my tenure, that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, for the very first time in American history, actually broke out and collected separately Asian employment data. So that's how we know that Asian unemployment rate is the lowest at 7.1%. It's low because Asian Americans are the highest educated racial group in our country. Increasingly, the jobs in America require higher skills, more education. And while higher skills and more education is not a guarantee against unemployment, generally, those workers who have higher education, higher skills, face lower unemployment prospects. For example, in August, for workers who have less than a high school diploma, they face an unemployment rate of 14.3%. If a worker has a high school degree, that group of cohort faces an unemployment rate of 9.6%. As you can see, the more education, the lower the unemployment. For an associate degree, workers, their unemployment rate is about 8.2%. For four-year graduates of college, the national unemployment rate is 4.3%. So America doesn't want to compete in lower skilled and thus lower paying jobs. America's competitive advantage lies in its creativity, ingenuity, entrepreneurialism, rule of law, transparency, accountability, and finally, most importantly, the diversity of its workforce. So America's population is becoming more diverse. America's population is now comprised of 14% African American, 14% Hispanic American, 5% Asian American. The non-white population is already over 38%. Over the next generation, 20 years, Hispanics are expected to grow to 25% of America's population. And for the first time in the history of America, in 2001, the entering kindergarten class shows a minority of white children. This means that the future will hold increasingly greater opportunities for people of color and especially Asian Pacific Americans who are well educated and highly skilled. But to adapt to this Western world requires a greater understanding of American culture. And during my tenure in the federal government, I paid special attention to the Asian community and established many programs to help promote and train more successful Asian American executives and managers. And unlike Chinese culture, which emphasizes humility, modesty, and family, Western culture emphasizes the individual accomplishments, individual self-actualization, individual satisfaction. So number one, because America is an individualistic society, and because this is a democratic nation in which there are many